We're joined now by Frank Corrado, former Vancouver Canuck and TSN hockey analyst. And, well, we have to talk about center iceman, Frank. How are you?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, I'm good, boys. What's going on? What's happening out there?
What's not going on is Braden Coots anymore. As an 18-year-old Vancouver Canucks sent back down to the Seattle Thunderbirds for junior hockey after 3 games where there's no bottom line. He plays 10 minutes, 47 seconds a night and is a -2. Had to happen?
It had to happen because he didn't have the puck. His line didn't have the puck. Like they were losing their possession numbers in a big way. They're getting outscored. Like there's nothing wrong with an 18-year-old playing in the NHL, even for a short period of time. But what determines how long that period of time is going to be is, are you getting caved in or are you on the right side of the ledger? And listen, what a great camp. What a great preseason. The fact that he's already been able to play NHL games, the future is very bright for this young kid. And whatever was happening with the line he was playing on should not just fall on one player. The best thing for him to do is go back to Seattle, play a ton, try and push to be on this World Junior team. Because, you know, there's guys who are up in the NHL right now who might stay up there all season long, which opens the door for someone like that to step in and potentially be on that team. But it had to happen. But give the kid a lot of credit. Like that's a good camp and then some for a young kid to maybe knock the door down a little sooner as far as making his NHL debut than we would have thought.
And we've been saying next year the world opens up to him because next year he doesn't have to go back to junior. He can go to the AHL under the new 19-year-old exception rule there. So it's a pill to swallow for this year. But then next year, the Canucks are really in the driver's seat, having him either with the big club or down the road in Abbey.
See, I find that interesting though, Blake, because okay, let's say you can't get ice time at the NHL level. That's fine. Chances are it has to do with not necessarily the speed, although the speed is more significant, the strength of everyone, how strong everyone is on pucks, how hard it is to get it back when you don't have it. So then for a junior guy, how much of that truly changes for you if you get placed in the AHL as a 19-year-old? Because, like, you know, this is happening. Teams are going to have the option to do it. But is it really going to be that much better for you? Like, are the same hurdles that you faced in the NHL the same hurdles now you're going to face in the AHL, where you're going up against a 30-year-old who's going to take your lunch money instead of, you know, kind of just having a dominant season against guys that are your age and a little bit younger and building the confidence that you need to kind of look back upon your career and say, I remember what my game looked like when I dominated and I crushed the opposition. Like, next year, is he truly going to be able to say that playing a year in the AHL? Like, that's where I think this rule, I think teams are going to have to, it's a little bit of trial and error here with this. And I don't know if you want to do trial and error stuff with these young prospects who, like, you need to, you know, the development path can be delicate sometimes.
If you still want that curve to be going up, you're right. Send them back down. But if you are pretty sure, like if he has a way better than a point per game season with Seattle, I don't know how many games he's going to end up playing. If he plays in the World Juniors, it'll be a lower amount. But if he's way above a point per game, no, I think he's graduated. I think he has reached his ceiling in the WHL. It's time to move on. And you're right. There's still going to be new challenges in the AHL because of the strength and the savvy of some of the players down there. But that's okay. If you're the NHL team, that's of lesser consequence than him sewering the NHL team.
Yeah.
By his play.
And at the end of the day, like it does open up options for you. Like you don't have to go down that road just because you started. So if you want to do you can do a 3-tiered thing for the kid, right? If he has a good camp again, want to start him in the NHL, it's your prerogative. You feel like it doesn't go well, go see what it's like in the AHL. But you got to see that play out a little bit. And at some point, if you deem that it's not the right thing for him because we have players that are closer to playing or bigger, whatever the case is, like every organization is different, then you can 3-tier it and say you're going to finish the year in junior. And like no young player is going to be worsened by a little extra seasoning Like, it's just not the case. We did the Memorial Cup, and I got to talk to Easton Cowan, a number of times throughout the course of that thing, and he said, like, there were people that would have said going back to junior for Easton Cowan last year was a waste of time. He's like, not the case. Like, I worked on all the details that I needed to in an environment where I know I can succeed in order to make sure that my game translates from junior to the NHL. So, right, at least you have options, and you're 100% right about that. And you can evaluate when the time comes, but they'll have to make that call now that it's on the table.
And when you talk about the World Junior team for this year, McQueen, Catton, Misa, Desnoyers, Hage, Martin, O'Reilly, Baudouin, Luchenko, Reshny, Lindstrom, Boisvert. It is really deep at center ice. Yeah. Some of those guys are in the NHL. Some of them are probably going to play the wing for the Canadian World Junior team. So Coots is by no means a lock, despite this National Hockey League cameo of making that club. Okay, Frank, we have to talk about Elias Pettersson now. See, we soft pedaled you with the Coots stuff. Blake is teaching me about the parenting sandwich, positive, negative, finish with a positive. So it's a little
nice.
Sheltered. Yeah.
That's good. I like that.
Yeah, you'll use it with the girls at some point when they're old enough. So Foot is talking about changing up his line mates, and just I want your 2 cents because you're a best X's and O's guy. Does a Pettersson, DeBrusk, Besser line just lack a puck retriever, a digger, somebody who's going to go and get the puck for Elias and or Brock?
Based on what I have seen from Elias Pettersson this season, you know who his 2 line mates should be? Evander Kane and Connor Garland. Like that's who he should be playing with. For like, you're right. I would say on a really skilled line, if you could have it your way, everyone can retrieve the puck, and you can have 3 skilled players playing together. And then the next step down from that is let's get a guy who's a hound to go and get it for the guys that are skilled and can make plays. And if I look at the Pettersson line with Besser and DeBrusk, who is that? Like, in a pinch, we've seen Besser maybe try and do some things with his feet that, last year there's some moments where you're like, okay, he's trying to do a little more with his feet than maybe he had done in the past, and that's fine, but not something that's necessarily natural to him. And honestly, like with Pettersson or Besser and DeBrusk, those are guys that need to be the punchline. Like, they need to be shooting the puck. So someone needs to go get it. But Pettersson's almost at the point right now where forget about having one guy who can hound it. He needs 2 guys that can go hound pucks for him. Like, he needs, and if you were to put him with Garland and Kane, you got guys that can make plays with him. Like, they're not lacking in the skill department. They're going to do a lot of the grunt work that he needs. I don't know. Like, you're at the point with Pettersson where the contract is what it is. You're tied to it. And it sounds crazy to say that you need to help a guy who makes $11.6 million this much, but that's where we're at. You got to help him as much as you possibly can. And I think those 2 guys give him the most possible help that you could have on a line at this point.
Well, I'm not sure if you were aware or not, but Foot was talking about Garland and Kane as Pettersson line mates after practice yesterday. Said he's probably going to go that way tomorrow night in Dallas. And
as you said, like, are we mourning the loss of the guy that we thought would be the driver of a line, the guy that made others around him better? Do you think that can still come back to Elias Pettersson, where he's the kingmaker rather than looking for one?
Well, he's got if he's going to be the kingmaker, it's because he's got the puck and he's got to get it somehow. Like, and I just don't see that. The extra gear is still. It's just it never was like a really significant extra gear, and it's certainly not the case right now. Where he's going to make people better is when he's making plays, and I think he's at the point where he needs other people to make him better at this point. Like, that's the flat out reality, and it's not a great reality, but that's where we're at. And it's early into the year. And I can honestly say that for the whole team right now in Vancouver. Like, I do get the sense in the market right now that there's a little bit of like, oh no, here we go again, sky is falling type narrative building. it's a new coach. There's some new players on the team. Like every team, like you do need some time to get things worked out, but not that much time, because by the time you get into November, if you're in a deficit and you're not in a playoff spot, it's hard to make that stuff up.
Okay, so is it November, Frank? Because Quinn Hughes gave a very solemn press conference after the loss to St. Louis on Monday. Blake and I had a good debate about it yesterday. Like 1 and 2. Or are you concerned yet, or is it just it's 3 games? You've been in rooms. Like at what point does urgent situation critical set in off the start of a season?
Man, after a loss in, most teams, like if there's expectations around that team, it's like a morgue around the dressing room. Like
Yep.
guys are pissed off. And if you start doing that 3 out of 4, 7 out of 10, whatever, like that's all and that's when it's like it starts to weigh on everyone. Like one loss is a fairly significant crappy feeling around the NHL. So once you start to get into November, I think it's hard to get out of a funk, and you're gonna have to, like, if you're what is it, mid-November, like we always talk about American Thanksgiving. Sure, that seems to be like a good barometer where you kind of your standings indicate what you are as a team. Could honestly be even sooner though, because it's hard to put together magical runs for down the stretch. And another thing with this year, with the Olympic break being there in February, if you're hot going into the break, it doesn't guarantee that you're going to be hot coming out of the break. And I guess vice versa, right? Like if you're playing bad going in, you could come out of it hopefully playing better. I don't know what would change other than just everyone getting a break. Your roster's still going to be pretty much the same, but I think after 10 games, even with a new coach, even with new players, you should have a pretty good idea of what your team is. I think 10 games should give you a good indication.
What do you make of Keifer Sherwood this season? Coming off a 19-goal year, which obliterates his career high of 10 the previous year. He's got 3 already. He's been the best Canuck forward, maybe him and Garland for different reasons. He's a free agent making $1.5 million. Like, I don't know that we've seen a career arc for a guy quite like this who's blossoming at 30. I don't remember this happening recently.
Alex Burrow?
No, he's a gamer. Yeah, no, you're right, Matt. Like he's just a gamer. And the thing I like about Sherwood is he's not waiting for anyone to go do it. He's not like, yeah, I'm gonna follow so and so because he's our leader. Like this is a guy that you talk about, like depth, yes, but like also leadership on the ice, like doing it by example. That's what he does. Like good temperature for the game, understanding that like if he throws a hit, if he does something to create some kind of energy in the game, like there should be people that follow that. The part that you would like to see though is when Keifer Sherwood is putting together a nice performance like he did against St. Louis, you want to see other guys get dragged into that fight, and like 'cause he's going to be in there, but like that never really followed, in that game particularly. But like I think what he does is he's such a self-starter and he tries to drag people in, and that's the challenge now for this team. Like he's going to be going. He's got the Energizer Bunny, type mentality. He's hitting, found some offensive touch. It's all there for him. But you like how consistently like he brings it night to night basis.
If things don't go Canucks way, that's a heck of a trade chip at the deadline. Like who doesn't want Keifer Sherwood on their playoff team, right?
And he was outstanding for Nashville in the playoff series against the Canucks 2 years ago.
Yeah. Okay. You know what though? Like, okay, so I called the Habs versus Seattle last night, and I was kind of thinking, like, watching Seattle, they look a lot better than they did last year. I thought last year they were really unorganized. They were just kind of out there playing, which they can't do. Like they just don't have the superstar power to play that way. But then I'm like, okay, a little better defensively. Goalie's played excellent for the last couple seasons, Joey Decord. Like, there's no guarantee Vancouver, like, there's no guarantee that Vancouver is not, I don't want to say not good, but like a 94, 95 point team.
No,
There's no guarantee that LA, like Matt, you brought it up last week, I think. There's no guarantee LA is a team that like has to be top 3 in the division. And then all of a sudden I'm watching Seattle and I'm going, pretty nice blue line. Like Brandon Montour had 18 goals last year. Vince Dunn's a hell of a player. Adam Larson, pretty good shutdown guy. All-world goalie. Jared McCann's healthy. That's a 40-goal scorer. Like Tolvanen's a good goal scorer. Beniers looks more powerful than ever. And I'm like, I wonder if there's a little bit of like a closing of the gap if Vancouver and LA come down and Seattle figures it out. Like that would be a little bit of a concern if I'm the Canucks right now.
Yeah, they don't have star power, but especially if some of those young players pop this year, Seattle has depth, and could play like they did in their second season when they got to the second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. And incidentally, since he did that game last night, what a tribute to Ken Dryden! Wow, just perfect touches from the Montreal Canadiens with his mask on the goal and the spotlight on the goal and his retired number. And, of course, the ovation that he got. Okay, look, if we're talking about the bottom falling out of the Canucks, like major long-term injury to a star player, that's one way. But, of course, every team has that to a degree. Another way would be Adam Foote and his staff are just so overmatched, and you have another season where there's dysfunction within the team. The other way is that they're just so bad at center, Frank, that they can't keep up on a night-to-night basis and bleed too many points that way, which brings me to our Redwoods Golf Course poll question. Would you say they're desperate for a center as things stand right now?
Yeah, they're desperate for a center, but what are you going to do about it? I mean, you tried the kid, and to, not his fault, but it wasn't going to work. So he's going back to junior. And now you're looking at a situation where you need more from Pettersson. Like Filipino's been fine. He's got 2 goals. Like, I don't know. Like he had the one pizza the other night. Didn't like that. But he's a 3A/2B, if you want to call it that. But then, it does drop off, like not having Teddy Bluger. That hurts you. So yeah, they're probably more desperate than some other teams that would need a second line center or a center of any kind for that matter. Like who were a couple of the teams this summer that we're talking about? Was it Montreal? Sure. Yeah. They're playing pretty well. They're winning. Winnipeg Jets. They don't have Lowry. Like they're still playing well, like looking for a second line center. They brought in Jonathan Taves. I mean, Vancouver is the team that we had the center conversation, and now they're off to a little bit of an inconsistent start, if you want to call it that. So, yeah, I would say it's getting closer to desperate time for a center iceman there.
Yep, it's looking that way. Frank, thanks for your time. Appreciate this. Until next week.
Okay, boys. Have a good one.